A Clockwork Orange, 1971. What do you get when you mix classical music, street violence, and a glass of glowing milk? You get Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, a movie so bizarre it makes dystopia feel like dinner theater. We follow Alex and his gang, a crew of teenage delinquents who spend their nights doing what they call a bit of the old ultra-violence. Think dancing, but evil. While dressed in white jumpsuits, bowler hats, and false eyelashes worn like war paint, they beat people up, break into homes, and make mayhem look like an art form. All while Alex wounds over Beethoven's Ninth Symphony like it is the soundtrack to chaos. Eventually, Alex is caught and sent to prison, but instead of serving time, he becomes a guinea pig in an experiment that uses brainwashing to cure criminals. The catch, he can't even defend himself anymore. Violence makes him physically ill. So now we ask, is he reformed or just rewired? Audience were shocked, not just by the brutal violence, but by how stylish and strange it all looked. Then things got too real. Real-life crime started popping up. One group of teens even copied a violent scene, and people in the UK panicked. And Kubrick, he actually asked Warner Bros. To stop showing the film in the UK. That's right, he pulled the plug on his own film. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. Alright, imagine this, you're watching what looks like a jungle documentary, but instead of animals and pretty trees, it's shaky cameras, screaming actors, and a creepy forest that feels alive. That's Cannibal Holocaust, a movie that hit theaters in 1980 and people were not ready for it. Here's the story. A group of young filmmakers goes deep into the Amazon to shoot a documentary about savage tribes. But these guys aren't exactly polite guests. They burn villages, hurt animals, and treat the locals like props. Their goal? Shock value, not truth. The footage they capture is violent, cruel, and staged to look like the tribes are the monsters. Spoiler alert, they are not. Later, a professor is sent to find out what happened. He recovers the crew's lost film reels and watches every disturbing moment. What he finds turns out the so-called savages weren't the monsters. The filmmakers were, and the jungle, it beat back. The movie is shown like found footage horror story, and it looked so real, people thought it was real-life killing. No joke, the director Ruggero Deodato got arrested because people believed he murdered the actors. To prove he didn't, he brought the actors onto a live talk show. Surprise, they were totally fine. But sadly, one thing in the film was real, the animal cruelty. Real animals were harmed on camera, and that's what truly shocked people. Because of that, the movie was banned in over 50 countries like Australia, Germany, Italy, and the UK. This wasn't just another horror film, it turned into an international scandal with lawsuits, angry crowds, and lots of bad press. The Interview, 2014. What happens when Hollywood tries to poke a nuclear bear with fart jokes? You get The Interview, the 2014 comedy that turned into an international crisis. Starring Seth Rogen and James Franco, this dramedy follows Dave Schuyler, a flashy, clueless celebrity talk show host, and his best buddy / producer Aaron. They are used to interviewing rappers and reality stars, not dictators. But then, plot twist, Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader of North Korea, turns out to be a fan of the show. He invites them to Pyongyang for an exclusive interview. Cue the CIA. Hey boys, while you were there, mind killing him for us? Because nothing says national security like sending two dudes who once debated whether Eminem was actually gay on live TV. The pair head off to North Korea, armed with fake smiles, spy gadgets, and the emotional maturity of a high school talent show. What follows? Firefights, bromance, tanks, betrayal, and Katy Perry's firework blasting in the background while a dictator sheds a tear. North Korea, not amused. In this version, Kim is a Katy Perry-loving Bond villain, and his country is a theme park of propaganda. It was all meant to be ridiculous, but it felt a little too real. And then real drama hit. Sony was hacked, allegedly by North Korea. Suddenly it wasn't just jokes. Emails, scripts, and actors' salaries were leaked like gossip at high school lunch table. Sony panicked. Theaters bailed. What started as a comedy was now being called an act of war. The US government stepped in, defending free speech like the movie was the constitution. So where was it banned? North Korea obviously, plus China, Thailand, Russia, South Korea, and India all said, yeah, no thanks. In the end, The Interview skipped the red carpet and crept online with a shy little plop of a digital release. North Korea was furious, and the rest of us, we watched it quietly like spies in our own living rooms. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Alright, picture this. You are on a road trip with your friends, wind in your hair, the world is your oyster, and then bam, you run out of gas in the middle of nowhere. Not just any nowhere, but a place where chainsaws are as common as air. Welcome to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like if The Hills Have Eyes and Home Improvement had a creepy, terrifying baby. So, a bunch of friends, and clearly no one in the group has ever watched a horror movie, decide to stop at an old, creepy farmhouse. Now, we all know the rule. If the house has more bones on the porch than your grandma's necklace collection, turn around. But no, these brave souls decide to walk right in. And lo and behold, they met Leatherface. Picture a guy who is big, scary, and wears a mask made of human skin. Yeah, he's the life of the party. Turns out, Leatherface and his family have some unusual hobbies, like cooking dinner with ingredients that definitely did not come from the grocery store. It's a twisted family reunion of death, and one by one, the group is picked off like flies at a barbecue. The whole thing feels real, almost like a gritty home video where the family is not sending Christmas cards, they're sending screams. And to make matters worse, some people thought it was based on actual events. Spoiler alert, it is inspired by real-life serial killer Ed Gein. Now here's the fun part. Why was it banned? Well, turns out, just feeling too uncomfortable can get you banned. Not even a chainsaw can cut through this one. The UK, Germany, Australia and others banned it, claiming it was too disturbing. And that was before horror movies even had a mood lighting category. The UK even banned it for 25 years. And it wasn't the gore that bothered them, it was the vibe. Imagine being trapped in a nightmare that's all atmosphere, no escape. Persepolis, 2007. Persepolis is like flipping through someone's childhood diary if the diary had political revolutions, exile and heavy metal music. Released in 2007, Persepolis tells the story of Marjan, a bold, hilarious and stubborn Iranian girl growing up during the Islamic Revolution. One minute she is rocking out to Iron Maiden and dreaming of being a prophet, and the next, boom, her world flips upside down. Imagine being a punk rock soul trapped in a country where even wearing the wrong sneakers can get you into serious trouble. Told through striking black and white animation, the movie feels like freedom doodled in a notebook, raw, emotional, and sometimes hilarious. Martin's journey takes her from war-torn Iran to lonely streets in Europe, battling everything from political injustice to teenage heartbreak. It's a crash course in growing up when your whole country feels like it's grounded. So why was it banned? Iran wasn't too thrilled about being called out, labeling it anti-revolutionary. Even in Lebanon, it got some side-eye for daring to show a girl questioning authority. Apparently, a cartoon that teaches critical thinking is more dangerous than 1,000 action movies. Persepolis isn't just a coming of age story, it's a coming of race story. And honestly, it's the kind of movie that reminds you that sometimes a simple black line drawing can be way more powerful than an army. Brokeback Mountain, 2005. Two cowboys fall in love. Sounds simple, right? Well, not in 2005. Meet Jack and Dennis, two rugged ranch hands hired to herd sheep in the quite majestic mountains of Wyoming. Just two guys, a herd of woolly followers, and a whole lot of open sky. Then summer hits, and so does love. Under dusty trails and starry nights, something sparks. It's tender, it's honest, it's real. But just when it begins to feel like paradise, the season ends, and reality rides in hard. Jack dreams of a life together, a ranch, a future, freedom. But Ennis knows the world isn't built for cowboys who love cowboys. He fears the judgment, the danger, the cost of love. So they do what society expects. They marry women, have kids, start families. They live lives built on silence. But love doesn't pack up that easy. Over the years, Jack and Ennis keep sneaking away, chasing something they were never really allowed to have. Their story becomes a secret carved into time, tender, tragic, and quietly revolutionary. Critics were floored, audiences cried, the film won awards, but some countries weren't having it. Banned in Iran, China, Malaysia, apparently two cowboys in love was just too spicy. And Heath Ledger, when asked to mock the film, he said love is love, period. That's not just a line, that's cowboy courage. Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. Set in Nazi-occupied Italy during the final days of World War II, the film is loosely based on the 18th century novel The 120 Days of Sodom by the Marquis de Sade. It follows four powerful men, a duke, a bishop, a magistrate and a banker, who decide that law, morality and basic humanity no longer apply. They abduct 9 teenage boys and 9 girls, take them to a secluded villa and subject them to 120 days of escalating torture. It begins with twisted rules and rituals, but quickly unravels into organized horror, humiliation, degradation, and violence disguised as discipline. Each segment mirrors Dante's Inferno, the cycle of Manius, the cycle of excrement, and finally, the cycle of blood. Inside the villa, the captors reign with godlike control. The teens are stripped of names, clothing, and dignity. They are forced to perform, obey, and endure, often while the men feast or listen to grotesque tales told by aging prostitutes. Some try to resist, others try to comply and survive, but by the time final cycle begins, it's clear no one will make it out. The executions play out like a show, watched through binoculars, as if suffering were just part of the entertainment. No redemption, no escape, just silence. So why was it banned? Because it did not just show violence, it examined the machinery of evil. Countries like Italy, the UK, Australia and New Zealand banned it outright. It sparked outrage, protests, lawsuits and walkouts. Some call it art, others could not just sit through it. Tragically, director Pier Paolo Pasolini never saw its full reception. He was brutally murdered in 1975, just before the film's release. Battleship Potemkin, 1925. Imagine this, it's the 1920s, no Netflix, no TikTok, just silent films and a lot of angry people. Enter Battleship Potemkin, a movie so powerful, it practically came with its own revolutionary starter kit. Directed by Sergei Eisenstein in 1925, it tells the true story of sailors aboard Russian battleship Potemkin in 1905. They are being fed spoiled meat, treated like yesterday's garbage, and finally say, nope, not today. So they mutiny, and in doing so light the first spark of rebellion against the Tsarist regime. The film's crown jewel is the famous Odessa step sequence, soldiers marching in perfect heartless rhythm, firing into a panicking crowd. It's a scene that feels less like a movie and more like watching history punch you in the gut in slow motion. Now, why was it banned? Simple, it worked too well. Governments across Europe freaked out. The UK banned it for over 25 years, terrified it might turn movie nights into revolutions. Nazi Germany wasn't having it either, too much Bolshevik energy for their taste. Even in democratic countries, leaders saw it as less entertainment and more how to guide for overthrowing your boss. Bottom line, Battleship Potemkin didn't just entertain, it agitated, it inspired, it scared the pants of all leaders.